Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The other bit of news today was that the Saints have lost Jason Pierre-Paul after just 1 week on the Saints practice squad. The Saints signed him to the practice squad, and the Miami Dolphins today signed Jason Pierre-Paul off of the Saints practice squad. So JPP was with the Saints for just a week. He made the announcement on his Instagram that, all caps, "I'm coming home," is what he put on his Instagram. And now the Saints lose a player that was a veteran, their edge rusher, that was kind of brought on when Isaiah Foskey got hurt, and you knew you needed help there coming off the edge. And Pierre-Paul, who's 34 years old. I thought I had his age. My apologies. Anyway, Jason Pierre-Paul has been in the league since he was drafted in the first round back in 2010 with the Giants, and was with the Saints. And not only did the Saints sign him to the practice squad, he was active this last week and played in Atlanta against the Falcons as a rotational piece. I like that move for a lot of the reasons we talked about. While JPP may not be a guy that you want to go get you 50 or 60 defensive snaps a game, can you get me 10 snaps as a rotational piece on pass rushing downs? And he did that last week for the Saints in Atlanta. But ultimately, he was still in the Saints practice squad and had the opportunity to sign with Miami. He's from Miami, so it's an opportunity for him to go closer to his home and play for the Dolphins. The move was necessitated by Miami after linebacker Jalen Phillips suffered a season-ending Achilles injury, so they needed help. I kind of look at who could be next for New Orleans if you are looking, in fact, to replace Jason Pierre-Paul and add another edge rusher. I would have said Derek Barnett would have been the most obvious answer. After he was waived by Philadelphia, Derek Barnett was claimed yesterday by Houston off of waiver. So even if the Saints put in a waiver claim, the Texans clearly had an opportunity to nab Barnett before the Saints did, and clearly they did. So Derek Barnett's now a member of the Houston Texans. If you look at other defensive ends or edge rushers that are available, the most prominent guys, like if you're looking for JPP, right, that role, the guy who is the veteran guy who's really accomplished and, just is at the end of his career and might be able to give you some snaps at the end of a game or in certain scenarios. The only two that really make sense, I don't know that the Saints realistically would sign either of them. They're Chandler Jones and Robert Quinn. And if you haven't been keeping tabs on those two knuckleheads, Chandler Jones has been arrested twice recently, and just yesterday was on IG Live and did a really weird video where it was almost paranoid, where he's walking around his home in Scottsdale naked and insisting that the Scottsdale police are after him. That's someone who doesn't seem like he's of sound mind. I'm making an assumption there, but he needs help, not an NFL contract. And then Robert Quinn was arrested back in August. He had an incident with his neighbors where he was driving and hit like 4 or 5 of their cars. He got out of the car and assaulted one of his neighbors. So obviously he hasn't been touched either, but those are really the two available veteran players, but you're not going to sign either of them. So it almost feels like if you're the Saints at this point, you don't have a better option unless if there's someone you scouted through the draft process or saw on another team that's hanging out on a practice squad who you feel like could come in and give you immediate snaps right now. And if that doesn't exist, then you kind of look at your roster and say, okay, well, where's some of the young talent on this roster that might be able to get an opportunity to give it a go? And I'm not so sure that there's an obvious one. But what you do know, and maybe it's Nico Lalos, some of the guys that you were excited about, in the preseason. I know we talked about a guy like Kyle Phillips, who of course is a battle injury, but I don't know that there's another great option. So maybe you run your young guys out there. Maybe there's an increased role for Zach Bond at this point. But what you know about the Saints team is that with 25 sacks right now through 11 games, the Saints are 22nd in the NFL in sacks. You're not generating pressure. So there isn't an easy answer. The trade deadline is passed. You're a sinking ship to begin with. I don't know that there's a great option anywhere for this team. I mean, Demario Davis has 4 sacks. Carl Granderson has 5.5 leading your team. Unfortunately, Cam Jordan just has 2 sacks on the season. His production has dipped after you gave him the contract extension. You're just an old team. You're the oldest roster in the NFL. And as you continue to see the defense dip and wane, you start to wonder, really, what leg does Dennis Allen have left to stand on? I mean, they're 9th in the NFL in scoring defense, and that's very good. It's top 10. But I think you have to look at the recent history and what that's done to that average. You started this season allowing 15 points to Tennessee, 17 points to the Panthers, 18 to the Packers. But since then, you allowed 26 in an ugly loss to Tampa. You shut out New England. And then you allowed 20 to the Texans, but then 31 to Jacksonville, 27 to the Colts, and they put up over 300 yards of offense. 17 to the Bears, where they were just a turnover machine. 27 to the Vikings, 24 to the Falcons. Your average, your points per game allowed, your defensive scoring average is that number is increasing here in the last month. So if you're not generating pressure, your defense is not playing as well as they were in the first month of the season, your offense is a mess. You really start to look around and say the one thing that Dennis Allen had going for him was the defense was playing well. Well, that's not really true anymore either. So, you were atrocious against the run on Sunday in Atlanta. And the Falcons ran for 228 yards. Atlanta ran for 228 on you. So your run defense is no good. You're not generating any pressure. But for Tyrann Mathieu coming up with a couple of picks, that game's probably a rout. So the beat goes on with Dennis Allen. I mean, they'll line it up. They'll play this weekend against Detroit. It probably won't go well. And there'll be more cries for his job. And until Mrs. Benson is pressured enough to make a move, or Mickey Loomis, it'll be more of the same. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.